Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Eddie Jennings from EJSLLC.com. This video is another in my practice session series for the Red Hat Certified Specialist in Identity Management Exam, EX362. Before I dive in, I want to thank returning subscribers for watching another video, as well as invite you, if you haven't subscribed yet, to click that subscribe button. Also, a reminder that these are my practice sessions for the exam. My exam's in just over 2 weeks, and I'm going through all of the posted objectives by Red Hat and either explaining the concept behind the objective or trying to do some examples of whatever the objective is asking you to do. At the end of the video, I'll do a little assessment and hopefully I'll feel confident with the objective. And if not, I still have about 2 weeks to shore up some knowledge gaps. That being said, these videos and these practice sessions should not be considered tutorials, nor should they be considered training material or any type of authoritative information. I do try to have the information accurate because hopefully at this point in my preparation I haven't learned something wrong, but I am learning right along with you, so I would not consider these any type of tutorial or official training materials. I put these out on the internet in hopes that someone else that might be trying to prepare for this exam could see some of the stuff that I do as practice exercises, and it might give them some ideas of things that they can do to prepare for the exam. So continuing on in the install and configure Red Hat Identity Management, create users, groups, and policies objective, we're going to focus on groups with this practice session. I've already logged into my IDM server, and there are technically 3 types of groups with this. The groups that I think you're probably going to deal with most often, and I suspect on the exam we'll probably have to work with, are going to be user groups and host groups. Net groups I'm not familiar with outside of knowing they exist, and apparently it is it's to allow legacy compatibility with NIS systems, which I have never touched NIS as far as that directory service, and I don't think it's in that much of use. Of course, some of you watching might be NIS administrators, and you'll say, Eddie, you don't know what you're talking about. NIS is everywhere, and that may be true. I might do a little bit of reading on net groups between now and the exam. Perhaps there's some concepts I need to keep in my head, but other than that, I'm primarily going to focus on user groups and host groups. So user groups, as the name implies, is a container that will have multiple users, such as if I were to look at the IPA users, and of course everything I'm doing here you can do with the command line. I believe it's IPA group show that will, is it group show or user group show? Well, while I'm thinking about it, let's find out. Go ahead and grab a ticket as admin, group show, and do IPA users. Yeah, so it is IPA group show. And that shows you all of the members of that, and of course I'm seeing that here in the GUI. There are a couple of built-in groups. Admins, editors, and IPA users is one of them. You can simply add a group by clicking add, putting in the information that you want. The group type, this is something that I am going to need to look into. I think all the groups I've been making have been POSIX groups because that is primarily what IDM is working with. I would imagine non-POSIX and external deal with being able to integrate with things like Active Directory, but that is definitely something I need to review prior to the exam. So we're going to use test group 1. And we'll click add and edit to see the other things that we can do. And really the editing part of this is giving it users. And there are also some other policies and rules that we can attach to this group as well. If I want to add users to this group, simply click add. We'll put test user 2 into this. And there it is. While I could have specified a GID, I would probably not do that and just let IDM create the GID for you as you need. Host groups are basically computer groups a la Active Directory. And right now we only have a single host group that has IPA servers. This time let's go to the command line to create a host group. And I believe the command for that is IPA group add. It might be host group add. -- help to check out a couple of things. Group add. Yeah, I think there's a separate command for the host. You would have host group add, which makes sense. So, and like many other IPA commands, if you don't give it any type of parameters, you'll have like a little text-based prompts that come up that you will hand it the information. So we're going to call this test clients 1, and that is it. And if I want to add a member to that group, I can do IPA host group add test clients 1, and we'll go ahead and add the replica server. So lab, or one of the replica servers, IDM replica 1, IDM ejslab.com. I thought that I realized what the mistake I made. I should have done host group add member. Okay, now I need to do my -- help. Clearly, it's been a little while since I've practiced this. Oh, I see. Okay. So we have the name, and then we have to do -- host. And I think with group add member, I think you have to do either -- users or -- members for that. Hosts, and let's see if I can just do this. There we go. And if I were to refresh this, I should see our test clients, and test clients should have a host name in there. The other significant thing, and again, I'm not dealing with policies with groups yet, because I think there are a couple of other objectives that Red Hat has specific to policies that I think would be a more appropriate time to deal with them. But one thing I did want to mention was the concept of auto member, and you can do this with both users and group rules. This is kind of a nifty feature. It basically will allow you to set some parameters, and by default, IDM will populate groups per the rules that you set up. I don't think this exists with Active Directory as far as their types of groups, but I do remember at one job we had an application called Active Roles, and we kind of use that. They have the concept of dynamic groups, which is basically you have LDAP filters that you write, and the Active Roles application periodically updates the Active Directory groups per your LDAP rules. I don't know if that application is still around or not, but it was pretty nifty. And this is a similar thing that's built in. So I'm going to look at user group rules, and we don't have any here. Add a rule, and we have to tell it what group we're going to use for this. We're going to use test group 1. Again, these are user groups. Click add. Then we can go into here and create basically regular expressions for either things to include or things to make sure are not included with this. So I'm going to use the attribute, and this applies basically any user attribute that you would have. And we're going to use UID, which is not the same as the user UID number, but this is basically the user account name. And we are going to say if it starts with the word, caret, the word group test, and then has any other number of characters at the end. And you can, of course, have multiple rules. So in theory, if I have a user that begins with group test, then this should automatically put this into this group. So let's put that to the test. Let's make us a user, IPA user add, and we'll just call it group test 1. And you can see already it has added it to the test group 1 that we have our rules for. So if I were to go to groups, look at test group 1, and to refresh that there, we see a user called group test 1 that's in here, as well as test user 2, which I think we just did a couple of minutes ago. I believe with this there's a command that basically will say repopulate your groups. I don't think that's in the GUI. Let me see if I can find that in the command line. It's auto member rebuild, I believe. And as always, we can do --help to get a little bit of context about it. Now, to create an auto member group from the command line, we're basically going to use the auto member add command. And this, I haven't done this from the command line much. I've primarily done this with the GUI. And I think I've mentioned this in another video. You know, when you're in the exam, use whatever tool is easiest for you to get the job done for the objectives. Don't think you just have to use the CLI or you just have to use the GUI. Now, if you happen to have an objective that explicitly says using the CLI or using the GUI, then obviously you want to do that, because I'm sure there's some method that Red Hat has for determining how you did the thing, whatever the thing is. But generally, whatever tool works the best. And I think you can actually, I think there's some Ansible playbooks that can make these as well. I might, between now and the exam, I might explore that a bit, but I primarily use the GUI for this. But let's see if I can figure out kind of on the fly how to do this for how to do this with the CLI. So I'm going to do IPA auto member add --help. Well, let's say I've never done this before and I'm on the exam. This is how I would try to figure this out. So IPA auto member add type is going to be host group, because we're going to do a computer group for this. We might have to make a rule first. Let's see what happens with this. Unless this is looking for a rule name. So we'll say populate client group. I don't think that's what we're looking for yet. I see. So, you know, it's kind of an odd way of displaying that syntax. So that is looking for the auto member rule is for a group. And I guess that makes sense, because when I was making the auto member with the GUI, the first thing I had to do is tell it what group auto member rule is for. Maybe if I were king of the world, I would have that work a little bit differently. So let's look at what host groups we have right now. Okay, so let's make us a host group and call it client group 2. Okay, so now we'll do IPA auto member add client group 2, and the type will be host group. All right, so it has a rule for that. Now we need to add a condition. And I believe the command for that was IPA auto member condition add, but tab completion is telling me nope. So let's see, add condition. We'll do --help real quick, just to get a quick refresher of the syntax. And we now, remember that auto member rule is the group name that we need. So let's do IPA auto member add condition, and the group's going to be client group 2, and the inclusive regex. We're going to have this. How would I want to do this? I really don't care what it starts with. So we'll do star. I want it to have the word replica, and I generally don't care what it ends with. Now, one thing that I will do prior to the exam is do some regex exercises. Regex is one of these things that, or at least, there may be some people out there that I'm sure there are that just know regex inside and out, which is kind of odd, because there's a lot of different implementations of regex. There are some things that are similar, but not everything is. And I myself, I don't use it frequently enough outside of just basic. Does it start with this? Does it end with this? Having brackets where you can you pick a couple of letters and such. So I often am having to reference something with regex because I just don't use it often enough to keep it inside my head. But I think for the exam in these last couple of weeks, I'll do some more regex exercises to try to have some what I think might be common scenarios in my head. So I believe what this is going to do is say you can start with anything. It's got to have replica in there. and it's case sensitive, and it will end with anything. Oh, and the attribute key, I think this is going to be CN for this. Oh yeah, and the grouping type is going to be host group. All right, let's do IPA group show client group 2. Oh, host group show. All right, so in the distinguished name, we do have CN for that. So let's see if I can try to do that reload. PA auto member reload, and let's just see what it prompts for. Oh, it was rebuild. That was it. So the type's going to be host groups. And that may be all that we need. Nope, we have to, yeah, that's all that we need. Okay, so let's see if this worked. So let's go to our groups. We go to host groups. We have client group 2. And there are our 2 replicas. So lab IDM replica 1. So I think that covers this. I'm a bit rusty with that, as you can see. Like a lot of these practice sessions, I kind of fly through the objective because I either know it well, or something I practice often, or something I have recently practiced. This I have not recently practiced. I could touch on the idea of managers, which are going to be users that can alter these group memberships. But quite frankly, it is almost 9 o'clock or 9 p.m. on a Sunday, and I'm tired, so I'm probably going to end this at this point. But as far as of course, there's no way to know what's exactly on the exam, and even if I did, I wouldn't be able to tell you because of NDA. But I would be surprised if we didn't have to do some type of auto member rule for the exam. That seems kind of like some low-hanging fruit that Red Hat can ask for on the exam and probably easily script the grading of. So for the seemingly vague create users, groups, and policies for groups, obviously I was able to make it through the GUI. We made groups, both user and host groups, through the CLI. I did not touch net groups, and I think I'm going to do some reading about it. I might see if I can try to make one just on my own. I have a feeling it's probably not going to be on the exam. Hopefully I'm right. If I'm wrong, then that'll be something that I miss, because I'm not planning on spending a whole lot of time with it. And just because it's within IDM doesn't necessarily mean it'll be touched on the exam. But I was able to do auto member rules both through the GUI as well as through the CLI. So in general, I would consider this a pass for me. Hopefully you found the video useful. If you did, make sure you do click like. Also, another thank you to returning subscribers for watching another video, as well as thank you to those who are watching that have not subscribed yet. And if that is you, make sure you do click the subscribe button and ring the bell when you do, so you can know when new content is made available. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you the next time.